Hey everybody, it's Cauliflower Man here again, and I'm going to bring you guys another video talking about Bitcoin today. Now, the question I'm asking is, what is going to cause Bitcoin to bust? Now, at the price that we're at, it's like 50 times higher than the previous low. So you have to expect a drop is coming at some point. Generally speaking, when Bitcoin rises, like the biggest it's ever risen is like 100 times the previous value. Well, we're pretty close to that. So being this late, I guess you could say, into the crypto cycle, you would really kind of expect it not to have the greatest rise right now. Now, that being said, if you watch my videos where I talked about um, the best ratio for mining, like the block reward as a, like, I guess the best inflation rate for a currency, I always say it's between 3 to 5%. So Bitcoin's at like 4% right now. So this is the golden years for Bitcoin. So who knows, maybe this will be the biggest run-up Bitcoin ever had. But that, again, that's not the point of this video. The question I want to answer in this video is what's going to cause Bitcoin to bust? What's going to cause the drop to occur? Again, I'm a long-term holder of Bitcoin. I've been selling as the price has been going up, but I haven't completely sold out my position. But what's going to cause the price of Bitcoin to bust? Well, the first one that might cause it to bust is Bitcoin Cash becoming more profitable to mine. So, Bitcoin Cash is one of the few cryptocurrencies that also uses SHA-256 as its mining algorithm. There's very few cryptocurrencies that try and compete with the Bitcoin mining algorithm. I think, I don't like that. I've always thought if you want to build a cryptocurrency to, take off and become number one, you want to use the SHA-256 algorithm. But nobody really does that. But the good thing with Bitcoin Cash is that it's completely unique to Bitcoin. They both Bitcoin SegWit is what I call the highest price Bitcoin. Bitcoin Cash is obviously Bitcoin Cash, but Bitcoin Cash is really taking off right now. And if the price keeps rising for Bitcoin Cash at a higher rate than that for Bitcoin, then Bitcoin Cash can very easily have more mining power. Now, this is a big issue because if Bitcoin Cash can hold a higher hash rate than Bitcoin for a while, one, they could do a 51% attack, which I think well, I don't necessarily think they should. I've always thought that any cryptocurrency that could perform a 51% attack should perform it on another or on the number one cryptocurrency just to prove that it's not secure. Basically you could almost try this on any cryptocurrency because the new ones with low market caps, they've got a high inflation rate, so performing a 51% attack on those is also not easy. But anyways, even if there isn't a 51% attack that happens, you'll be looking at two currencies, one Bitcoin Cash, whose price is way lower than Bitcoin, and if it has a higher mining or hash rate, or it has even close to the same hash rate, that means the security on both cryptocurrencies are about the same. So why would you trust all your money with a cryptocurrency that has a higher price and the same security? I don't really know. Again, the security aspect and the hash rate doesn't necessarily indicate what the price is going to be, but it creates a lot of very interesting aspects. The other thing you got to know about Bitcoin Cash is better for the miners. It's always been better for the miners because Bitcoin Cash will have big block sizes, so you'll need a lot of processing power to process all of the blocks. And so who has a lot of processing power? Well, the miners do. They've got all that equipment and everything, So Bitcoin Cash, the fact that it's getting adopted right now, that's not necessarily good news for Bitcoin SegWit, and in fact it could be very bad news for Bitcoin SegWit. Whether or not this will actually do anything, I don't know. I'd be surprised if Bitcoin Cash alone will cause Bitcoin to bust, but we will see. The next thing that could occur is Bitcoin, or not Bitcoin Tether, but Tether and Bitfinex. There's a lot of people who think that Tether and Bitfinex are actually defrauding their customers. And so the one thing you got to understand about Tether and Bitfinex is the story basically mirrors that of Mt. Gox. So a while ago, Bitfinex was denied access to a banking system, and so they started using tethers instead. Well, what started off the Mt. Gox debacle was they were denied access to their banks. And then when this started happening, it caused them a lot of issues. And then basically, Mark Karpalez started doing internal trading. Like he created fake money in order to keep his exchange operating. Now there had already been thefts from the exchange, but he created fake money to try and make everything work. But as always happens in these sort of instances, not always but almost always in these instances, the company owner basically turns his company into a Ponzi scheme on accident. Most people think Ponzi schemes are something somebody plans out. Most Ponzi schemes happen on accident just because the owner's trying to save his company and not let anybody know he's lost money, and then they end up losing all the money. So that's kind of what happened at Mt. Gox. There's a lot more to it because obviously a lot of the Mt. Gox Bitcoins got stolen, but Bitfinex lost their banking or access to their banks, and so they've started using what are called tethers. Now, tethers, there's really no regulation on tethers. I'm not saying regulation is necessarily a good thing, but Bitfinex can kind of do almost anything they want with these tethers. And how are you going to know? You're not. So why is this an issue? There's actually a pretty good article that I'm going to pull a couple images from here. This first image shows the exact time, like there was 25 million tethers created on July 18th at 11:15 p.m. Well, if you look at this chart here, the line in the center, those dots, that is July 18th between 9 to 12. So right after these tethers were created, the 25 million tethers, the amount of the margin lending increased slightly over 25 million. Does that sound suspicious? I mean, it really should sound suspicious because those numbers add up in a really weird way. And then you can go on and go through these numbers here. So you can look at these numbers yourself. You can pause it if you want to. But basically, all that's going through here on this article is that basically Tether created 80 million new tethers, and they did it in different chunks, like two chunks of 25 million and one of 30 million. And if you do the math of the Bitfinex, I think it's the Bitfinex margin trading, you basically come out with on each one of these days, like when the 25 million is created, there's the first one, there's 24.2 million increase in the margin lending. The second one, I think it was like 26.2 million increase in margin lending. And then if you keep going on, when you add everything together here, what you actually end up getting is that over this entire period, the margin lending increased basically 80 million, which is exactly how much Tether was put into the system. Now, I don't necessarily know that this is an indication of a scam for sure, because there's a lot like that can explain this. You got to know all the internal details of the company. Who knows? But the fact that they lost access to their bank. They don't have access to a bank. And they start using tethers, and then all these tethers just keep getting created, and it goes straight, like it almost seems to go straight to Bitfinex margin lending. It's not a good sign, and there's actually more charts made by other people that basically every price increase for Bitcoin was predated, or like right before the price increase, there was a bunch of tethers created. Now, obviously, the price of Bitcoin's super high, so a couple 100 million, or 80 million doesn't necessarily increase the market cap of Bitcoin by that much. But the one thing about market cap, you guys got to remember, like not all these Bitcoins are trading, so you don't actually have to create $20 billion and put it into Bitcoin to rise the market cap $20 billion. That's not how prices work. That's not how market capitalizations work. Like Bill Gates owns so much of Microsoft, but if he tried to sell it all, he wouldn't get what his estimated net worth is at, because he would drop the price to zero. So you got to remember that just, if you do the math, if you look at this, it's like $80 million. Well, Bitcoin's got a market cap of, 120 billion or whatever it is right now. You can greatly increase the market cap of Bitcoin with a much smaller amount of money than you would think possible if you're just doing the math linearly. That's not how it works. This last thing you got to remember with these tethers that Bitfinex uses is that Tether isn't like, if Bitfinex is using as a bank and using as a US dollar tethers, that's not really a great thing because tethers aren't money. They're not redeemable for money. It's not backed by anything. So you buy tethers, you can't even guarantee you're going to get $1 out of it. Like that's basic. Tethers are supposed to be like, it's almost marketed to people like you get tethers, it's like a US dollar. Well, you have no right to actually get US dollars back if you buy Tether. So if Tether goes down, what happens to Bitfinex? It goes down as well. It's not a really good scenario there with Tether and Bitfinex. But again, Tether and Bitfinex, I don't have enough inside information to actually know whether or not that's fraudulent. It's very interesting to look at. The next thing that might cause Bitcoin to bust is if institutional money gets into Bitcoin. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, because most people, like a lot of people in crypto, don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But when institutional money comes into Bitcoin, that doesn't mean everyone's going to take a long position. Some people are going to short it. In fact, most people will probably short it. If you look at the price of Bitcoin, it's increased in value by a factor of 50. Okay, the people who run the biggest like hedge funds in the world, if they can get institutional money into Bitcoin, these guys are killers. They're motherfucking killers. And I say that with a lot of respect. Like they will destroy you and laugh at you while they're doing it. So do you really think you're going to be able to outthink and outtrade these guys who literally like are in charge of billions of dollars worth of assets, and they do this for a living for things that are way less volatile and way less, way harder to make money on than Bitcoin? Like they will create so much fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the Bitcoin community. Like they could completely crash it because they've got the money to do it through shorts. They could crash it in a day. I don't, again, I don't know why everyone thinks they're going to go long on it. Everyone, institutional money kind of hates Bitcoin, so you would expect them to short it. Maybe I should put up the definition of what a short is here, because I guess people don't understand that shorts exist. But yeah, if they come in and short it, and I'm not saying they would necessarily short it to try and kill it, but they will short it to make you freak out, and then all these people with weak hands, they'll sell, and they'll sell back to these institutional investors who just shorted at the price. And like Bitcoin can get crushed if institutional investors come in. I don't know, like, again, everyone's like, oh, institutional money's coming in, the price is gonna skyrocket. Yeah, I don't even know what a short is. What's a short? I mean, you got to think this through, guys. If everyone sort of in the media shits on Bitcoin, and the price has gone up 50 times its previous low, you gotta expect that when institutional money comes in, they're gonna short the shit out of it, and they're gonna kill everybody who just dropped their life savings when they bought at all-time highs. That's what institutional investors do. They take money from stupid people, and there's a lot of stupid people in the crypto space. And I'm not trying to like insult everybody, but let's be honest. Like your average person who bought crypto is not exactly what you'd call a genius. A lot of them just kind of got lucky, right place, right time sort of thing. So institutional money could absolutely destroy Bitcoin. Next thing that could happen is that the government could crack down on Bitcoin. Um, the new Federal Reserve chairman has issued a lot of warnings on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Now, that's not necessarily something that's completely bearish. It doesn't mean that they're going to come after it hard, but they don't like it. Okay, this is like when you talk. This is going back to when everyone's like, "Oh, Donald Trump's a free market president guy." He would crush Bitcoin just because. You could argue to Donald Trump like, oh, it's for terrorists, or oh, if we can't keep interest rates low, or if Bitcoin got big enough, they'd be like, oh, it's a threat to the dollar, and then Donald Trump would just kill it because. I mean, he's really not, when it comes to monetary policy, if you've ever listened to Donald Trump, he has no idea what he's talking about. He's very left-wing. He's very much a Keynesian. He really likes low interest rates. Like his monetary policy is completely dog shit. Donald Trump's. I like Donald Trump on a lot of things, but his monetary policy is complete dog shit. So obviously, Bitcoin, the monetary policy of Donald Trump will greatly affect Bitcoin. So if government cracks down on Bitcoin, it's dead. Now this has obviously been an issue with Bitcoin for quite a while. This is why I kind of push privacy coins in my videos. But yeah, if government cracks down on Bitcoin, that'll cause it to bust. And all they have to do is they have to close fiat gateways. So people are like, oh yeah, but you can't stop Bitcoin. That's true, you can't stop Bitcoin, but you can stop anyone from putting money into Bitcoin, so you could still trade and transact using it. But like I said in the video I made earlier, nobody really does that anyway. But there wouldn't be avenues to put dollars into Bitcoin, so there wouldn't really be a dollar price if they shut down the fiat gateways. The final thing that could cause Bitcoin to bust, this one I don't think is necessarily as likely. It kind of goes together with Bitcoin Cash thing. Something could raise in value and get a higher price than Bitcoin. There's a lot of cryptocurrencies out there that are better than Bitcoin. Being a little bit better than Bitcoin doesn't mean you're going to beat it. So like will the great flipping occur? I don't know. People usually talk about Ethereum for this great flipping. I would highly doubt that Ethereum ever gets higher in value than Bitcoin unless Bitcoin's just dying off. There's a lot of coins that I like better than Ethereum. And again, Ethereum is one of those blockchain based or like application platforms. I don't like blockchain based application platforms. Like I feel like if you're making blockchain applications, you should make them separate from a cryptocurrency because you know, there's no point like when you came out with Amazon, when Amazon came out during the dot-com bubble, they didn't create their own currency and be like you have to use this currency to buy at Amazon. They just used existing currencies. So if you're going to create an application, you don't need to create a cryptocurrency. So I don't like things like Ethereum. I would assume if there's a great flipping, it would more likely be something like, Bitcoin Cash or some sort of privacy-centric coin. If the government cracks down on Bitcoin, then privacy-centric coins could really take off. But who really knows? But anyways, this is my video on what I think will cause Bitcoin to bust. Again, the main one I really want to get out there for people because people get this completely wrong. If institutional money comes into Bitcoin, there's like I'm not saying you should all sell everything at once, but I would almost guarantee that if you get massive institutional money into Bitcoin, the price is going to drop by a factor of 10 because they're going to short the shit out of it. But nobody really talks about that because people who talk about crypto on YouTube don't understand basic investing. But anyways, let me know in the comments below what you think will be the cause for Bitcoin to bust. Again, I'm not saying it's going to happen right away. It could take a while. The price could hit, it could hit 10,000, it could hit 15,000, who really knows? But it can't continue going up forever. So let me know in the comments what you think. There'll be more videos coming out soon.